Hey, everybody, we're back again in the studio today. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Definitely. It's 2025 now, too, man.
I know. Can you believe that?
I'm ready.
Jesus, I was born in 1958.
Good grief,
I know. I said to my wife the other day, I got like an average of 5 more years to live.
Dang. I think you're gonna make it, Mark.
You think so?
I think you're gonna do it.
I don't.
The show off the ground before you bounce like
I don't know about that.
Hanging with the freaking.
I'm still eating a lot of French fries and smoking Lucky Strikes, so my odds are not so good.
No, you're
okay.
Your own odds.
It's not.
Tell us what you did this morning. What your wife just called you about, Mark.
My wife called me on the way here to tell me I used her towel this morning and said, "You're obviously very distracted. Don't run into anybody," quote unquote. Because I did have a little accident, last year at my daughter's Mini Cooper.
In your car.
I totaled it. But other than that.
When you said accident last year, I thought you were referring back to like a towel.
No.
That you needed a towel.
What are we talking about?
I thought you were talking about my 13-year-old. No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Which I'm way too old to have a 13-year-old, let's face it.
Well, yeah, because you only got 5 more years to live.
No kidding. I mean, God bless.
You won't even mess up by your 18th birthday, bro.
Jeez, I know.
Let's keep my eye on you two today.
You guys are going to be laughing at me when I'm dead, which is fine, honestly, because I won't care.
So what could the podcast look like? Like, let's say you died, and then let's say it's Wednesday and you die, and then we do our podcast, Big Talk, on Thursday. You would want me to do the podcast.
Oh, of course I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would that episode need to be like, though? Do you want me to do anything special for you? Or?
No, there's no need to do
cardboard cutout.
I'd be self-conscious if you did.
It's a hell of an idea, Jesse.
I'll be like looking down, according to all those people who talk about.
Don't go into religion.
No, the near-death experiences.
Oh, yeah. Where you lift up and you see the room.
Yeah, exactly.
You think it's going to be like Big Talk?
I'll be like looking down here on you, Eric.
Floating.
Maybe you'll have our guest today with you. Let's introduce him.
Bring me back.
We have Dr. Jesse Core with us today.
Heck yeah.
Recently got his PhD.
Congrats, man.
Man, I appreciate it.
DBA.
I got my DBA.
I knew that. I apologize.
That's all right. It's no big deal. I appreciate it. It's kind of weird being called that right now.
Doctor.
Yeah. Doctor, and doctor.
You got a doctor. What? We're going to come back to that. But before we do, this is another episode of Big Talk about Small Business.
It's awesome. Well, one, I'm really excited. You guys didn't give me the cue that I was supposed to come in on that.
No,
I'll do better next time.
Yeah, we do it at the end of the show, too. So
I got that one.
You can be with us then, Jesse.
First of all, thanks for having me. I've always wanted to be on this show. It's pretty cool to be here. So thank you guys.
You got it, man. It is the biggest show about business on planet Earth.
I agree.
The biggest show about small business?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I guess. We're legends in our own minds over here. But no, having Jesse is going to be good because he's a fun guy to hang out with.
Yeah, man.
Jesse, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're obviously in the beverage business. I can't just say beer business at this point, right? What do you consider yourself?
Beverage, 100%. With craft beer doing what craft beer is doing these days, which is going down. Mm-hmm. We transitioned to beverage several years ago, so it was a good move at that point. But man, I'm keeping very, very busy, and like you, I'm happy as hell that 2024 is over. Good job, 2024 is good. Let's get going in 2025. So we got big plans coming up 2025.
So tell us about yourself now. When did you start Core Brewing, or is it still called Core Brewing?
It is. I mean, our DBA would be Scarlet Letter Beverage Company.
Okay.
But the holding company is Core Brewing. I started that in 2009. And the way I started, I loved brewing craft beer as far back as 1992. I grew up in Fort Smith, went to Fort Smith Northside, typical freshman at West Ark. I played baseball there, and I had a microbiology class at 8 a.m. in the morning. And like most freshmen, I was drinking beers and chasing girls, And my professor pulled me aside one day and said, "Jesse, if you just get your ass to class, I'll teach you how to make beer." And that was in 1992, and I'm like showing up to class, getting my work done, and then just learned to love it. Then I moved from Fort Smith to Miami for a couple years, Denver 3 years, San Diego 7 years.
What were you doing in those places?
Writing software.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, as a software dude.
Wow, you have such a varied background.
It was a
You're a
cool
Renaissance man.
It was a cool time. So I back in the day, we used faxes for resumes, right?
Yeah.
And I sent out 90 resumes, and I got 2 offers. One was Miami Beach, the other one was Cleveland.
Oh, that was a hard.
So, what do you choose? I mean,
The mistake on the lake or, Miami Vice, right?
what do you do?
So I took my country ass down to Fort Smith, or down to Miami Beach, right out of Fort Smith, and that was an eye-opening.
Were you well received as a country person from Fort Smith down in Miami Beach?
Well, I don't know about all that. Yeah, it was.
You're not so much a country person. Let's get real.
Yeah, that's true. That's not so much country. More Fort Smith North Side.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Not so much country. Hell, it was an eye-opening experience because I was able to get my car down there, and I had $300 to my name, and I'm like, I'm rich.
Yeah, you were.
And it's piss and rain. There we go with cussing already. It's just piss and rain in Miami. And I pulled from my apartment complex, and there was just one spot. I couldn't see anything. So I pulled in at this spot, and God, this is a godsend. I got my spot. Go out to my car. Turns out I parked in a handicapped spot as soon as I landed in Miami. Cost me $300 to keep an hour.
There you go. Back to ground zero.
So, I learned to love bologna. Bologna's a good product. But anyway, I scratched and clawed that, moved to Denver for a few years in San Diego, where I really started to learn about craft beer. And then when I came back to Arkansas, I'm like, there's just no good craft beer here.
So you were a program writer, a program engineer, but then you were in craft beer. So I guess from your class in college, you continued to learn to make craft beer.
Loved it.
And you kept doing that at Miami on the side, and went to Denver, did that on the side. And is that kind of what was going on?
Exactly it. So, I'm pulling around my little trailer behind me with my Honda Civic, and I left my couch in Denver so I could bring my homebrew system.
Hell,
Absolutely. Yeah, let's have the priorities straight,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, my apartment in Denver or San Diego had pretty much like a futon and a homebrew system. That's really what we had. And I just learned to love it, Then I got back to Arkansas. I was working at Tyson. Great company. Tyson's a great company.
People like working at Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
It has a very good reputation as a place to work.
Yeah.
It is a good place to work. And I just had that entrepreneurial itch, man. It's the only reason why I ever left. I was on the city council of Springdale at that time, and I got to know Rick Barrows. And Rick Barrows, the owner of Multicraft, A+ human being.
Yeah.
Multi-craft construction company.
Right.
Yeah. Big company.
And Rick's an unbelievable guy. Mm-hmm. And so I said, hey, Rick, I want to give this thing a shot, this homebrews thing. And so he goes, all right, go squat in one of my little complexes over there, which is where the brewery's at.
Yeah.
And then, that happened 2009. And then we just started going at that point. And then I got the itch when I went to a liquor store. I put my product in the shelf, and I was stocking, and somebody came up and bought my beer right in front of me. And I'm like, that's beautiful. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah. You're doing what you were born to do.
That was
basically.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's how core beer started. That's been a hell of a ride.
So it's 2009. So you're almost
15 years into this.
16 years. Or
Wow. Now 16.
Now 16. Yeah, that's right. Now 16.
So tell us what happened. How did you do it? Did you have to raise a bunch of money, or
Yeah.
you did it on a shoestring, or what did you do?
Well, I started off, we raised some money. And it was during the Great Recession, right?
Yeah.
So I remember going to a banker, and I had this really kick-ass business plan, and I slid it across him, and he just goes, I can't hit you, and that's what it was like the whole time. I couldn't raise crap for money. I just had to keep going, bootstrapping, and pull money out of my account, out of my bank, which my wife was just super excited about. Let's give up the 8-hour days, the benefits, the 401k, and let's be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That was an easy sell. No. And and then I started. I went to one of my former employees at Tyson, and he was the first investor in the business, and started raising a little bit of money. And it's really capital intensive. It's so damn expensive, guys. And I get people come to me all the time with a great idea to start a brewery.
Right.
I'm like, come here, buddy. Come here. Come sit down by me for a couple minutes. We're going to have a conversation, you know? And when they really get bent out of shape is when I start talking about personal guarantees.
Right. They don't understand that.
They don't get it.
My students, you know, whenever you start getting into legal forms of organization, like, well, an LLC is a limited liability company, and I'm like, okay, but what happens when you have to sign a personal guarantee? Forget that. It all goes out the window.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no, and I tell my students the same thing. I'm like, man, if you're in this like a cockpit and you got your one hand on the ejection ring, your business is not going to win.
Right.
Yeah.
You better be all in, because it was so much more expensive than I thought, and you don't even know what you don't know. I raised a lot of money. We ended up raising about $10 million.
Dang.
Business.
Wow.
Good job, man.
So you went through a radical transformation of this business. You grew along, right? And you ended up with a whole bunch of pubs, I guess, brew pubs. Would you call them that? Or
Oh, yeah. I love telling this story. Thank you for breaking it up. God, how long do I have? 4 hours on this thing? Yeah. We'll go with.
Although Mark's got to get out of here on time to go get his motor home.
Oh, okay.
now I got to take it in.
Got to take
Well,
what, man?
Yeah.
All right. So we got. I'll hustle up. So here we are. We had our first pub in Springdale. It was doing great, and then we opened one in Rogers, which is the core building, which I loved. It was Dusty Graham's building over there. Of course, I told everybody it was mine. Yeah, right. Yes, my pub was there, and it's the core building.
It looked like the core.
So there you go. You're welcome. And so we had a pub there, and the worst thing happened, Mark. It did great. It was doing amazing. It's the worst thing could have happened to the business.
It seduced you into thinking it was a good business.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then next thing I'm sitting there with my biggest investor, and we're sitting in one of our pubs, and the banker from JP Morgan flies up to just tell me how smart I am. Jesse, you're a genius. You need to replicate this, bud. And I'm like, hell yeah, I'm so smart. This is a surefire way. So we opened up. Yeah, you're so smart. I'm one of my investor, and we're like, God, we're smart. And and this we go like, let's open 8 more. Damn near killed us. Almost bankrupt us. We got within 29 minutes of bankruptcy.
Oh, wow.
And
were those 8 all here in Northwest Arkansas?
all over Arkansas.
Okay.
We had Little Rock, North Little Rock. Our whole goal, man, you put it on paper, a cool little business plan. Looks really smart.
Yeah.
You're spreading your brand recognition.
Right.
You're
driving your retail sales.
Right.
Yeah.
You're gaining brand equity, customer loyalty. Backfired in almost every single possible way. One, you don't attribute, you can't account for the amount of theft.
That's what I tell everybody about that business. Internal theft is the biggest problem. If you're not there all the time in that business,
people are robbing you.
They are. Your employees are giving the product away left and right.
I estimated
the problem.
I estimate for every $1 of beer we delivered, we sold 60 cents.
Wow. That's a lot of internal theft. I mean, I hate to say it.
Well, it was a pretty simple gig, I mean, you would sell a pint to Eric. Eric would give you cash, take the cash, cancel the transaction. Everything's good. And it's just part of the norm. And I mean, there was times when the pub, they just wouldn't open, and I'd find out they just weren't open that day. So you're pissing off all your customers. And then, so I remember
were you like driving around all these things all the time?
All the time.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Constant motion.
I was so unhappy, guys.
Yeah.
Because we got away from what I really enjoyed, which is relationships, manufacturing, the business side of it. And it was just really about just babysitting the whole time.
Sure.
And then I was just talking to my wife one day. I'm like, I almost dropped an F-bomb there. I was so close, but almost did. I said, F this. This is terrible. I mean, I'm so unhappy. We should close this business. I'm going back to my day job, And my wife just goes, close all those stupid pubs. Just close them all. It was so hard.
Yeah. It's a hard decision to make.
Because and
I remember reading this in the paper. You still have the one, though, at the airport.
We do. And I'll tell you why we're successful there in a minute. One, we're successful there is because we don't run it. That's right by Parodies. And Parodies is really good. We're not. And so I went to my wife, and you know that saying that JFK said about how every success has 100 fathers, but every failure is an orphan? Oh, that was me, bud. Oh, when the pubs were going up, man, I had a lot of buddies. Yeah, we were all geniuses. But man, when that thing started getting out of hand, it's like, Jesse, what did you do? You were so stupid. And so I just went to my board and I said, we got to close these things. And, you know, after a while, we were able to close them, and it was rough, man. But then 6 months later, COVID hits, and we look like geniuses again.
Oh, wow.
It was so fortuitous.
Good timing.
It was such, you know, and I like to say that is so lucky. I thank my wife for just telling me, you just got to do this, man. You're so unhappy. And as a result, guys, we went from just dying on a vine, unhappy, to retrenching, getting back to where we're good. I think Scratchy called back up to number one again. That's what it took. So what I tell our students, Mark, is, you know, don't be too cute. You know, you have more time than you think, you know, and do not get over your skis. Be careful who you take money from.
Amen to that.
And I look back at it and
Well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, a lot of people, you mentioned your students, a lot of people don't know that Jesse also teaches at the Walton College.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's great when we have people like you who have real experience out there doing this stuff.
It's cool, you know.
The students value that so much.
No doubt. And it's, you know, when Dr. Rich came to me and said, hey, man, you want to teach this class? I'm like, I don't know. You know, it didn't sound that fun to me. But man, after I taught the first one, I'm hooked. I love it.
It forces you to keep learning and refining your own business philosophy, doesn't it?
100%. And it also gives me restored, kind of a renewed perspective, optimism, you know, that the world is going in the right direction.
Yeah.
It really is. These kids, these young future leaders are bright.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited. So, and there's so much fun.
Yeah.
From my business, one, they like, you know, they know I make Scarlet Letter, and they're like, who knows Scarlet Letter? Yeah, we drink Scarlet Letter.
Right.
And, but they're so engaged, and they give me such great feedback. I learn as much from them as they do from me.
Absolutely. I felt the same way, for sure.
But you got an amazing reputation. We use this book a lot of times in my class.
Oh, do you?
Well, that's nice, Jesse. You don't have to do that.
You should start using this podcast so I can get a little bit of benefit out of it, out of your celebrity status. I'm over here. I'm trying to make some money.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. You start passing out the podcast. But passing out that book.
No, truthfully, Eric's the most successful one of the bunch.
No.
But anyway, cool. He's been great to work with. But
'Cause I'm always trying to get that monies.
it's a lot of fun. But going back though to your business, so you close the pubs down. 6 months later, COVID hits. You're making beer. Okay. When did you morph this business into some what it is today, which is making these other products?
Yes. So by one hand, have to deal with all the theft and stuff in pubs. We're actually focused on things that actually make money.
Right.
And White Claw was becoming a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember drinking White Claw and go, wow, that sucks. I do not want to do this. I did not leave a career to make this crap. But my brewers were like, try this.
Is it like Zima or something?
See, back in our day, we were drinking Zima, right?
Yeah, I mean, I never had White Claw. It's Zima. I
think Zima tastes better than White Claw, truthfully. Yeah. And
I just can't believe you dropped the Zima.
No, it's just...
That's like whenever one time I asked Mark, I was like, what's your, what kind of music you listen to? Well, I like Waterfalls by TLC. I'm like, what the hell did you just say?
yeah.
Like, how the hell? I mean, it's pretty
left Zima and TLC.
Yeah, is it? But no, and it was like such a great, it's a case study in itself of a product that just like went insane and then just completely died like overnight.
Oh, yeah. And so, it's a White Claw where I'm to my brewers, like, try this. I'm like, sucks.
Right.
And then after 8 months, we delivered something. I tried, I'm like, whoa, that's pretty good. So I'm like, let's do this. Let's give it a real shot. We put it out in the market, did some tastings, got people to try it, and the response was great. And then a year later, it's 95% of our business.
Wow.
All right.
So what do you call that?
That was hard seltzer.
A hard seltzer.
And so this year we're releasing hard tea, and that's going into all the.
I like that.
And
oh man, I'm gonna like that.
Oh, and what's cool, what's fun is I think the one thing we're good at, we suck at pubs, clearly, right?
Obviously.
Really bad. Obviously, you're terrible. And, and so, but we were really good at making stuff.
Yeah.
And this hard tea, Sam's Club did a blind taste testing with all the national brands, and ours won hands down.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
It's really good.
That's great.
And so we're releasing that next year.
So do we make like John Daly's out of this, or what? What do we do with it? We mix it with something else.
You can put in your beer helmet, Mark, and just go with it.
Just
Beer helmet on a Janus,
guzzle that stuff.
just go.
In the motor bloom.
So
Scarlet Letter, though, 95% of the business.
what was so fun about this, guys, was
Still make beer, though?
We do. And this is what's so fun about this. I'm going to definitely write in a book about this whole experience. It's going to be called 29 Minutes. Yeah. And
Love it. So catchy.
I mean, it'll be funny. There will be some funny stuff in it, I promise you.
You're a funny guy. You know?
Well, my daughter says I'm the funniest guy. Andy and I definitely think we're the funniest people on the planet. My daughter half the time is like, God, you're stupid and embarrassing. But it's
They always think that about
Yeah.
us.
Oh, no.
There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how cool you really are. Like we are.
Yeah.
Our daughters still hate.
When they get older, though, they'll
realize how freaking cool
be like, you know what? You were really cool, Dad.
yeah.
Your kids will say that.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, I'll keep you guys posted on that one. We'll see. Now, I'm really lucky. My kids are amazing. Where were we? I forgot my question. This is what happens with getting older.
We're talking about Scarlet Letter, 95% of the business. You still make beer.
Yes. So the beer thing, thank you. God. All right. So the beer thing is I went to make craft beer because I loved making beer.
Yeah.
I didn't want to make the same crap that everything was out. So what happens is you realize this is the evolution. Eric comes to you with a home brew and you're like, oh, it's delicious. It's amazing. This is so much better. You're going to be a bazillionaire. And then all of a sudden he invests. He starts with a 1-barrel system, a tiny system. Everybody's like, it's the greatest thing ever. And then this is where it happens. He starts buying equipment and bigger equipment. All of a sudden his stuff's not quite so sexy. And then what he's doing, okay, I'll just make a light beer. And that's how, and then next thing you know, he's on a fast track to nothingness. And so Bud Light, Miller Lite, Coors Light, Natty Light, I have brands that are never going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
People just drink it, and they're not going to drink the craft stuff. Sorry. That's just what I've learned.
Sure.
So as a part of me making Scarlet Letter and going into beverages, I can now make beer that I like.
Right.
I don't have to make the
You don't have to make the stuff that just sells.
that just pays bills.
right.
And the ironical thing is that it doesn't pay the bills. Nobody's going to buy your lager when they've been drinking Bud for 30 years.
Yeah.
That's a hard truth when I'm talking to little Johnny over here about his new brewery.
Sure.
I'm like, sure, your hop that you got, some experimental hop you picked up in New Zealand, stole it from a great Weiss mouth. There's something, and it's great, but you can't buy it. It doesn't scale.
You can't replicate it.
You can't replicate it.
Sure.
So
Makes total sense.
So that's where we started getting better. Got to stick green dot. As we started getting better, we started getting back to what we're good at: relationships and product and driving your cogs down and doing those kinds of things. And that's where we started winning again.
Like if I went to your brewery once and I was watching those cans going through those conveyors and filling up and everything, it's like I would just be hypnotized by that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever just walk out there on the floor and then just like go into like some kind of a weird meditative hyper focus of watching all this stuff turning out your product?
I'm like Scrooge McDuck of the canning line. I'm like, dollar. My employees are like, I'm pulling cans all day long. This is so boring. I'm like, dollar. Let's go. That's the restaurant. So I love it. My chairman of the board will fly in and do the same thing. The guy runs a big company. He'll fly down here just to pull cans.
I know.
It feels good.
Yeah.
It does.
It is the American dream.
Yeah.
That's making stuff.
It is.
And selling it is entrepreneurship.
It is. It is indeed. That's fantastic.
I love being down there.
Now, I want to ask you, though, one question that I've always wondered.
Sure.
Why do all these independent brew pubs sell skunky beer that's served too hot? What the hell is that about? Because the old guys like me go in there and we're like, you guys got Bud Light in the cold?
Right.
Okay.
To your point earlier.
I mean,
30 years of drinking Bud Light.
it's 50 in my case. Okay. I mean, so why do they all seem to follow this formula? Okay, of let's bring your dog, let's sit around. Yeah, our employees are slackers. Maybe they'll give you good service this time. Maybe they'll ignore you for 20 minutes the next time. And by the way, we'll serve you any matter of variety of oddly named, strange tasting beers with shit in them that shouldn't ever be in beer. Okay. And we'll serve it warm and maybe not carbonated like it should be.
You don't have to answer.
Well, no, I just wonder, why do they keep doing that and then thinking this is going to be a great success?
It was a success. The problem is, Marcus, it was a success for it. Now you look at the data and everybody's dying on a vine because guess what? Nobody wants to drink a 400-calorie beer that tastes like shit.
Yeah,
exactly.
And, I remember a phase where I went up to Colorado and I'm like, I've got a 10-ounce pour of this barrel-aged stuff that's like molasses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, give me diabetes after one glass of it. And I'm thinking to myself, and I told my wife, I'm like, this is the beginning of the end of craft brewing right here. If I have to pay $14 for a 10-ounce glass of this stuff, that's really not even good.
Mm-hmm.
That's why seltzer started becoming so popular. You could drink 8 of them, not get diabetes, and it tastes good.
Yeah. Well, it seems to. The whole thing is it always comes down to differentiation of your product and having something that other people aren't doing, which is what leads to great success. So, how do you account, like for your Scarlet Letter, for example? Where do you see that fitting in the market that you serve? What makes it so different? What makes it successful?
That's what keeps me up at night, every night, because there's always going to be competition. And if you're doing something well, it's a matter of time for somebody starts copying. Sure, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what we do well. I learned also that you don't have to be the first to do it. That's usually really expensive and hard to do. For example, when I came from California, and by the way, my kids are 8th generation Arkansans. I'm not a Californian, for the record. All right. I got so much shit when I came back. I'm like, I'm Arkansas. I just lived in California. Get off me.
I know. I moved here via Boston, but I'm from Missouri. Okay. So it's like,
yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm a native Missourian myself.
I didn't realize that. I just thought you were from Boston this whole time.
He's from the Lou.
No, I swear to you.
He's from the Lou.
I am. It's not that much different from Fort Smith. Outside St. Louis.
Okay. I had no idea, honestly. I always thought that you were from
Boston.
No, I swear to you. Sorry.
Anyway,
I came here and I bought a canning line for the business. I couldn't sell a drop of beer in cans. And that's what I tell my students is, I thought it was a no-brainer being from California. Nobody drank out of bottles anymore. So to me, being the first, not necessarily the greatest idea.
The first independent brewer put your beer in cans?
Yeah, or just being so far out ahead of, I found that I was too far out ahead of the market.
Okay.
I was
too early.
I was running down the hill a little too fast.
Yeah.
So I slowed down. And so for me, I feel like where Scarlet Letter does a good job positioning is we're pretty good on trends, and because we're small, we're able to pivot quickly. We're pretty nimble, and we can attack trends pretty quick.
So like your flavors being a trend, is that what you were talking about?
Categories like hard tea has 5 more years of runway, and we're way ahead of any other Arkansas brewery on that.
Yeah.
Because we've been developing it for a year.
I llove the idea of hard tea. I really do.
It's
great.
And I don't want to, if there's any competitors out there listening, don't listen to this.
Right.
Is we have a light hard tea that's going to be released in 2026.
Awesome.
And then we have another beverage that we're already planning for 2027.
Sure.
So we want to make sure we're staying relevant because hard tea or a seltzer is flattening. It's entering that mature cycle. And it happens.
Yeah.
You got to be ready for it.
Yeah. You got to kind of be watching the trends and what's going on and always innovating in that.
No doubt.
What about the trend? It seemed like the independent or the beer aficionados were trying to turn beer into wine. In other words, how the wine people are like, well, that's got a very oaky overtones with a little bit of nuttiness to the aftertaste and oak cask
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and all that bullshit. Okay. And they were trying to do the same thing with beer. Did you notice that?
that was awful. I hate it. I call them the neck beards. You know, the neck beards. You know,
They let the beer come out of their neck.
yeah, it was no fish. It's like right here, and they got their, their harpooner whaler hat on, like they're about to go, harpoon Moby Dick out there in the same uniform.
And they had like this pretension to the whole thing that really turned me off.
What really started pissing me off in my pubs is I had to go kiss their asses the whole time. I'm like, oh, hey, what do you think about this? Because I don't want a bad review on this rating site. And so, I give them this product I work really hard on. I have to sit there and pretend like I care what they think, and it's usually when you said, oh, it's a good fruity note, tangerine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I'm like,
There's no tangerines.
I'll let the great career for this crap. And then what happens is you tell Eric, then Eric's got his neck beard. He's rocking out there. He's got his beanie on in 97-degree weather.
We should have Jesse on soon. I did. Yes.
That's why, or Kindred Spirits Bark,
Beanie on in 97-degree weather.
You got the uniform on. And as soon as, Eric, listen, you're going to start paying for your beer now. They're gone. They're moving on the next pub, and your ratings go down on the side like that. It's just, I'm done with the game. So I got to a point where I just told them all, hey, kiss my ass. If you don't like my stuff, go away.
Yeah.
And so I started focusing on bigger, relationships with bigger accounts, more scale, and just making really good stuff.
We're in the right place to do that here in Northwest Arkansas, right?
Oh, gosh.
I mean, you couldn't be in a better location to create, you have a distribution of your product, right?
There's so many reasons why this is one of the, I've lived in San Diego, Miami Beach, Boulder.
Right.
This is the best place in the country. It really is. I
can't say I lived in all those, which are all great places. But I lived in Boston. I lived in Memphis. Everybody's like, Memphis sucks. I thought Memphis was great. Okay.
Y'all really
DFW area.
Yeah. I'm a Cowboys fan. We're going to talk. We've got a therapy session coming up. I'm a Cowboys fan.
But I'm with you on it. Northwest Arkansas, I always say we're not the best at any one thing, but the overall package comes together here as a really great quality of life.
No doubt.
I
love raising my family here.
Yeah.
I love it. And you get enough, the cost of living still, I'm glad I bought my house a long time ago. I can tell you that. But I love it here. I love Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah. So you're such an interesting guy. He's done so many different things in your life. You recently went back and got the DBA.
Mm-hmm.
What motivated you to do that? Tell us about that.
Man, I love pain. Yeah, I'm a glutton. I'm kidding about it. It's something that after I started teaching, I started learning. One, getting this past my board of directors was hard because they're like, what the hell? You're the CEO of this company. You don't have time for this.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw the value in the academic research out there that PhDs were doing and all this amazing information that were not really accessible or even digestible for people like me, a practitioner. And I thought, man, what an amazing amount of information. And so I wanted to learn. I want to be the best CEO I can be. And I also want to be the best mentor I can be. And I think about myself more as a mentor than professor. And I wanted to give this a shot. And so it came down to OSU or University of Missouri St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
And I chose University of Missouri St. Louis because of the program director says, Jesse, we value your practitioner experience.
Mm-hmm.
To be candid, a lot of the academic settings I've been in, they don't really value
of course,
practitioner.
I know.
It's a little bizarre to me.
Mm-hmm. I think the Walton College has done a good job.
Yes.
I feel like they've treated me with respect, but there is still a fundamental difference when you have things like email groups that are for, tenure track versus non-tenure track.
Yeah,
That's a big deal. Tenure track means you got the terminal degree and you're
not necessarily. I thought, for me, and I don't want to interrupt you there, but tenure track is, and one, I felt like that kind of bias happened both ways. I have my board of directors, and I have C-suite officers on my board, and they're like, I don't care what a tenure professor says. Those guys just work 4 hours a day.
right.
That's what they think.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have the the tenured professors over here think, well, how many publications do you have? Well, you're not in our group either.
You got nothing.
You got nothing.
Right.
So what?
You could have like 300 articles published in the business journal, but that doesn't mean anything because they're not academic journals.
Yeah, and that to me baffles me. But you could be a C-suite officer for a company that's doing $400 million a year and be like, how many publications? You have nothing.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Well, no. But you decided you were going to go through this.
And because this particular program, this is why I'm an advocate for the executive DBA program, is because it bridges the gap. They focus on practitioner scholars, people that have run businesses, who have the scars, the blood, and they teach them how to do that academic research to speak that language. To me, I felt like it was a 1 + 1 = 5. And it was some of the best money I spent.
How long did it take you to do this?
3.5 years.
Wow. And so how often did you have to go to St. Louis?
Once a month.
Okay.
And it was hard. You dedicate 20 hours a week to this program.
Wow.
And that's a lot. It's a lot. And I'm already working 100 hours a
running a business and family and teaching at the Walton College.
It was hard.
So what real value do you see that you got from it all?
One, I'm a far better leader.
Okay.
And
why, though? I mean, why did that help you become a better leader?
The information that you learn in this, the research, my ability to digest this. One, the thing I tell you, Eric, is academic research has put a lot of good publications out there. How many of them have you read?
0.
Yeah, see, that's a problem. There's a lot of good research out there. And what it also helped me with is be able to be a better professor for these students as well. And also, I wanted to go into the professional field. Before I get on that, I want to talk a little bit about what my research was. It was really cool. I worked with Harps Foods.
Okay.
And with Harps Foods, I was able...
ESOP company.
Yeah, no doubt. And Harps is a great local business.
Right.
And Harps went and met with J. Max Van Hooster, CEO. And with Harps, I was able to do an experiment with them and measure shelf space. And because of my relationships with J. Max and Harps, I was able to get in there and do a physical experiment that measured the shelf space changes from, if you swap out a large brand with a small brand, what would happen? The data was fascinating. It showed that if you swap out a large brand with a small brand facing, sales of the total modular went up. I couldn't have done that if I were just in academics.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, but I learned how to conduct that experiment also through this program as well.
Wow. Yeah, that's very cool.
It was good. I'm very happy that I did it. I'm very happy. I didn't do a great job of explaining it, but I am really happy that I did it.
No, you did a great job explaining it, Jesse. Yeah. You talk about there's useful research out there that those of us on the practitioner side don't have access to or unaware of. I think part of the problem with academia, and I just had breakfast this morning with one of my friends who was a former professor here, and now he's moved to a different school. And his thrust has always been that we risk our academic existence if we don't do more practical research than what is done. I think that for a lot of people, they're very skeptical of anything that they would see in an academic journal, good or bad. And then, when I see even our own college or university promoting some of the research that's been done, I think it really hurts our credibility out there in the marketplace with practitioners. For example, what happens to the performance of teams when you give them misinformation? Is that a worthwhile topic?
Right.
What do we think's going to happen? Their performance goes to shit. Okay? Or another study that was published, people who don't go to the office don't get sick as often as those who do. Now, can you believe that?
Yeah, because you've isolated yourself.
Okay.
Weird.
Or those whose urine is darker in color are less hydrated.
Yeah, no doubt.
Than those who have light color. These are all studies that I have seen put out by our university. Okay. And there are, for what it's worth, there is a group of people I know in Northwest Arkansas non-academics who run businesses who jump on every bit of PR about absurd research done and share it amongst themselves and say, this is what the hell's wrong with higher education today.
Man, I completely agree with that. And that's why I think it is so important. Again, kind of going back to, Mark, it's people like us and Eric that we are the ones that need to be more involved in higher education, because I truly believe education is really the solution to a lot of our problems. But for the life of me, don't understand, and they've tried to explain it to me, but I think maybe I'm just dumb, is the rigor versus relevance argument.
Right.
For me, I just don't understand why you would do anything that's not relevant. And they explain it, and I still struggle with that. I don't really want to do anything that lacks relevance. And I've had to read a lot of that, and through the DVO program, there's one class in particular that I went through, and I read a lot of shit that was completely useless, but there were some other classes, particularly my corporate strategy, that was unbelievable, that absolutely helped me become a better executive and think at a higher level. So,
it's funny, this conversation, because I do think about it quite a bit. My dad was a professor, chair of psychology. So I grew up in this.
It's
academia. I know this side, as an academia, but as a practitioner, like the reality is I probably would put a bet on how much I'm constantly self-learning, like continuously. I don't watch a lot of TV.
Right.
I don't do a lot of other things that are passive. I'm constantly reading, listening to audiobooks, listening to YouTube, seeking constant industry information.
You are. I know that about you.
Yeah, I mean, I have to, right?
Right.
But what dumbfounds me is whenever I'm talking about that and I hear somebody from the Walton College of Business say, oh, have you looked into our research program? We got a lot of studies and research that we've done for the last, decades that could be helpful for you. And I'm like, give me. And they're like, yeah, I'll connect you with somebody.
The Journal of Academy of Management Science or whatever, right?
It's the absolute most inconvenient, completely
we could do
it complete mystery as to how I get my damn hands on any of that research.
We could do a much better job boiling it down and distributing that through the sort of widespread business media,
no doubt,
than we do. Well, there's no doubt.
I don't even know where to go.
Right.
After a decade of working and being an entrepreneur in this area, and I have I've taken a lot of initiatives on my end to get to know the college and the university, and these types of things.
No, I think that's a very good point.
And I push out that energy, but I get nothing back in return. Not like zero. Like I get a little bit, but then it's like no more. It's crickets.
That's why I feel like the executive DBA was good for me, because I want to be able to speak that language, because Google Scholar has a lot of good stuff out there.
Sure.
There's a lot of crap too. But it's also really hard to read those things as well. I mean, they're hard to digest, a lot of those journal articles. So how do I produce research? How do I do things that are really practical that you guys can use? That's why I enjoy it.
So I have a little bit of an answer, and it's a little bit of a pitch, but it's genuine. What we're doing right now is exactly what academias need to do. We need more video talk shows on discussing the research and putting them in areas that I, as a practitioner, can discover, listen to.
The distribution channel.
Yes.
Tuned into.
And I want to do a professor podcast, to where,
that's a great idea.
It's a really good idea.
But I mean, okay, so I've said that, mentioned it, but I can get no activity on this stuff. It just frustrates me to no end. But I mean, we could totally set up this entire network.
It's a great idea.
Let's talk about it, because my brother Andy recently completed his PhD in psychology.
Did he really?
Yeah. And we both talk about the same things. We're like, you can't digest this information. And so we were actually considering doing some sort of podcast, like, a digestible form of information from research that can actually be used. So
I like that.
You know what? We need to have you, and I know Andy really well, your brother.
Yeah.
Have y'all guys back on the show. I've been wanting to do this anyway. Mark hates it when I bring up the emotional side of business ownership. He always cuts me off, won't let me go down into it. But I want, like, to me,
It's hug time. Let's hug.
that's what he did to me last time. How'd you? Well, he said it was like we're huggies and things like that, but it's not. But like the emotional, anyway. I would love to have you guys on. Let's talk about the emotional intelligence part about entrepreneurship and being a business owner, because the reality for me is book smarts. But what you had to go through on when you had to shut down your stores, you talked about earlier, hard decision. It wasn't hard because of the math, because of the business model. You knew you're losing your ass. You knew all these things were happening reasonably.
Right.
It was the emotional decision that you struggled and warred with within yourself to where your wife finally,
Push you over the edge.
yeah, and that you made an emotional decision that probably was costing you a fortune for months that you should have made months before. That's the hard stuff for entrepreneurship.
Who wants to lose? I don't
Exactly.
lose. And that's my mindset.
Who wants to give up any revenue?
Yeah.
I never want to give up any revenue.
Or get reputation. Or your reputation.
Reputation was a big thing, right?
It was like, holy cow, is Jesse going down?
Yeah,
right.
stay away from Jesse.
I remember with this.
Yeah.
Right. Really?
No doubt. No doubt. And I remember feeling gravity the couple days that I got out of bed and just tried to get both feet on the floor.
Absolutely.
But I just, I put on Damn It Feels Good to Be a Gangster by the Boys.
Yeah, you do.
Put it in my car and you just go. You go to.
That's what you gotta do, though, man. I mean, you gotta self motivate yourself out of these dark holes, because that's all that entrepreneurship really has. Because nobody's sitting around with a bunch of money saying, "Good job, Jesse. Good job, Mark."
No question.
You keep the economy going.
Yeah.
You keep losing your butt and having people steal from you and having your reputation potentially threatened. But you keep doing it for the good sake of mankind and the economy in the United States of America. No one's there to do that.
So, no, that's true.
He's going to change the topic.
No, I want to come back to this, though. So, Jesse, you've got this DBA now, and you're teaching here at the U of A. You're also still running this company that I assume is continuing to grow, right? What direction are you going to just keep pursuing both of these paths simultaneously? Is that the plan, or?
I want to have options, I think, for me, I'm happy with where I'm at. I considered, I had some faculty opportunities, non-tenure track. I don't think that's my path, because I don't have time, to sit there and focus on the research. And the thing I really enjoy is I love the student interaction.
Yeah.
So I've looked, I've received a couple offers for faculty positions to be a teaching professor.
But the problem with that in our field is, so you get these offers to be a teaching professor, and then you have this tenure track over here with this 26-year-old.
You get fired.
This 26-year-old who has no work experience at all.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? But has a PhD, all right? And they're going to make X dollars, and you're going to make X minus Y dollars in spite of your history of being able to actually start and grow a business to a significant enterprise. How do you rationalize that?
I don't, and that's why I'm not a faculty member. I mean, that's
that's such a big problem. It seems to me
it's a massive opportunity for academia to quit. To look at the opportunity to bring Mark on as a research professor makes so much sense. Like my thing with Harps Foods was there's not a lot of tenure track people that can convince the CEO of a major company. I can do that because I'm a practitioner and I have
got credibility with that guy.
Credibility. If there's some person 26-year-old off the street, he's gonna be like, how'd you get my number?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's an opportunity for both of us. But I'll be worm bait before that ever becomes an
I know. It's so hard to change, isn't it? The momentum over there, the inertia.
And the price of education these days is so stupid.
Well, we got to remember, education, it's like the ad industry, right? It's hundreds of years old, right? It's been developing way before, and it's got its own system, its own rules, its own economy, and so, what what we're facing is
There's
and before the internets, getting this type of information was extremely difficult.
yeah, it's
Like
true.
not available, but now that folks can get their own research, now you got AI, right? I mean, you got
Right.
a lot of things that are happening that are causing these two worlds to try to come together, and there's still that traditional tension
Yeah.
that's sitting right there that mavericks like yourself, Jesse, have to bust through. So best of luck to you, sir, on that.
First of all, I love what I do. I love being an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
And it's tough, man, because what I have learned in just dealing with academia and just even through the doctoral program, for all its good, all the good things it's taught me, there's still a sense of that they don't really want me in their club.
Yeah.
They don't want me in their club.
I know. I believe it.
And
That's sad to me.
it is. And I think it's a hell of an opportunity if we just get past these kind of silly, threatened feelings. And I mean, I remember sitting in one class, so one of the professors asked me what I thought about stay at home, employees staying at home.
Uh-huh.
What do you think? It's a trap, guys. They don't want to know. And when I started talking about, well, hey, as a business owner, I think, I have seen a productivity go down, and man, I got attacked, on that.
Right.
So
I've been in the same boat. Exactly. I hear you. It seems to me that we don't want to just keep beating on this horse, but I think back on my own experience and getting my MBA, undergrad in business, my MBA, I used every single thing I learned in school, whether it was from a practitioner or a research professor or a TA teaching some discipline class. I mean, I guess that's the other side of it. Like, I used every single aspect of my education, and I think sometimes entrepreneurs maybe don't value some of the stuff that you get from a formal degree program.
it's important.
Don't you?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm encouraging some of my employees. I'm helping a few of them go back and get their degrees, and I think there's a great benefit from formal education, and
Yes, flawed as it is. I mean, I'm not saying it's perfect in any way, but I do think we still provide people with a lot of good and can really open a lot of eyes. If you think about all the classes somebody takes and all the different disciplines and all the people they interact with,
no doubt,
along the way, I mean, that's a valuable experience that.
a broad depth of knowledge is very,
Yes.
being able to speak the language is important.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean,
Not everybody's as motivated as Eric over here. He just is like on this constant quest to learn than you are.
Well, I mean, I was actually thinking out the other day, I was like, because my girls are all graduating, going to college soon, so there's a lot of this thought process, but it's just like, it's not about the degree. It's not about a lot of the stuff that it's made out to be. It's about the person that's like, if you're wanting to learn, that's why the colleges exist. That's why the postgraduate programs exist, for the folks that are just wanting to be masters and to continue to improve things. And I mean, that's, when I look at that system, it's just like, it's amazing that we built that.
Yeah.
Like over the years, right? I mean, it's very fortunate that we have folks that are studying.
Yeah.
They're constantly studying.
absolutely.
So I got one more question for you, Jesse.
Sure.
So Eric and I both have had like different kinds of businesses along the way, You had the magazine business, the marketing consulting, the software, now the podcast video studios and other things. You've had your beer business that you're morphing into a beverage business. You had pubs along the way, which is a different business. Mm-hmm. Now you got your DBA. Okay. Mm-hmm. How do you think, is this a response to staving off the boredom that one would have if they just stayed in the same thing forever? What is that makes you want to do these other things that you want to do? Because, let's face it, they do take time away from your primary business, obviously.
It's a great question, and not to get super huggy with Eric here and all emotional about it, but I mean, I'm in for it.
I'm in.
You ready? Well, hold tight. We'll get that in a second. Yeah, but I think in large part, you grow up I mean, I was broke growing up, and, I remember my mom would get paid every second Thursday, and I knew, we got some good groceries that day.
Yeah.
It was rough. So a lot of what I'm trying to learn is, because my fear is I always continue to have to improve, because I was always forever afraid that trap door was going to be pulled out, no matter how successful you get. There's that trap door, and I'm
Right. That paranoia, that fear.
The fear.
That keeps all of us in. Doesn't
Drives us.
it?
Hell yeah.
Nice.
What fear?
Like that.
I love fear.
I mean, it's a motivator for sure, but I totally understand what you're saying.
Java's going to hit the button, and you're down with the Rancor.
Right.
And so
right. I'm with you.
That was a lot of what was leading me up to. But at this point, I'm also just kind of learning to relax a little bit more. I love learning. And I wish I could have told myself earlier, going, hey, man, Jesse, chill.
Yeah.
It's going to be all right. You're going to be okay. I did not enjoy the journey enough. I can tell you that right now. I did not. I'm so results oriented all the time, and I fight myself with that all the time. And that's one of the things I want to do with the back 9 of my life. I mean, both my parents died at 59, so I got 8 more years. So I'll be right behind you, Mark.
Dude, yeah. You better live right.
Just be me on this damn podcast.
No, just be Eric, okay? Parents are both still alive.
I'm living till I'm like 89.
At least 89?
At least.
That's a good run. So for me, what keeps me going is, man, I want to fall into my grave. I want to give it everything I have and just be like,
Right. Yeah.
Fall into my grave.
I never had a desire to just stop working and just, what do we do? Just think about where we're going out to eat that night?
I don't know.
At 4:30? I mean, it was
the best quote in the world from Sam Elliott on Roadhouse, the original Roadhouse. I'll get enough sleep when I'm dead.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I do wish
Patrick Swayze found out what it was like too young.
No doubt. He was
great in the original Roadhouse.
Oh, I know, man. Trust me, man. I'm ripping throats out, dude.
But
sorry, I just did that to
So what about you, Mark? I mean, what keeps you going? I mean, as you say, you've got 5 more years left. I think you're going to do better.
Cigarettes.
So
what keeps me going?
Yeah.
2 ex-wives, 5 kids. It's
expensive, man.
It's a hungry machine. I mean, my God.
Hungry machine. That's a hungry machine.
13-year-old in private school, 2 college tuitions, 4 of them in Invisalign at once. I mean, come on.
Sounds like a lot of ladies.
Okay.
It's because you don't have a son, do you?
No, I don't.
How many daughters?
I got a grandson, 5 total.
5 daughters.
Yeah. 4 original ones and 1 stepdaughter. It's like a daughter.
I mean, you're just shelling out dough, bro.
Yeah, I am. But no, I don't know. I do think it gets boring to just do the same thing. I mean, it's sort of like my cars and motorcycle thing and my house thing. I've done more houses in Fayetteville than anybody else. And everybody thinks, oh, they associate me with this craftsman style. Okay. I'm out of that. I'm bored with it. I'm not into it. I'm not doing it. I'm in mid-century modern now. Cars, I never got locked into one thing. I like hot rods. I like Porsches. I like old cars. I like new cars. Motorcycles, I never got stuck on one brand, okay? I just think it's your nature either to just be super hyper-focused on one thing or be like the 3 of us are, which is we're constantly, going out on these other exploratory missions and down these other paths. It's just, it's not necessarily the way to make the most money, though. But I think it is the way to be the most fulfilled and keep your brain alive.
No doubt.
No
doubt.
I just think everybody I don't know what, everybody's got different numbers in mind of how much you got to make or have or whatever. But, not everybody's motivated by the same thing. And I think the people I seem to have the most respect for are the ones who don't just do what they do to just make more and more and more money, but are trying to branch out and do new stuff.
Yeah.
It's
no doubt.
It just seems like a better path for personal fulfillment. Doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not necessarily the most lucrative. I mean, you look at the people who make the most amount of money. It's like I built hotels when I'm 22 and I'm 82 and I'm still building hotels. Okay. That's the way,
Doesn't wake me up in the morning though, man.
It doesn't.
I'm too entrepreneurial for that. I want to keep going and trying new things. That's just my DNA.
I get you. I think we're all like that.
For better or for worse.
Yeah.
I would say that now, I'm probably starting to slow down a little bit on that and try to smell the roses a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I'm not sticking around on one rose too long, I'm moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I think your success and your ability to be a good teacher and mentor to others is going to be enhanced by that approach to business and life.
What I tell my students, and reason why I develop, I think, friendships or mentorships with a lot of them who I keep in touch with, I actually give a damn about them. I mean, I'm not,
dude, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm not doing this job because I make good money.
No.
Yeah.
You're doing it for the gratification you get out of helping these other people and seeing them succeed in their relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fantastic. I just showed my wife last night. It was funny you say that, but just last night I showed her a picture on LinkedIn of one of my former students with his insurance agency and probably 30 employees. Insurance agency bears his name. They're all there. I said, this is one of my former students.
That's cool.
Look at this guy.
Yeah, man.
Look at how successful he's got 600 new clients last year.
That's cool. That's a legacy. That's a legacy, man.
Way to go.
That's right.
I just saw another one of my former students over here at the coffee shop this morning.
That's cool.
I just love seeing him be successful. I'm with you on that.
Same.
That's why we're doing this podcast.
Yep. That's true.
We may not get the feedback from everybody we can influence, but doggone it, we're trying to help people get into it and get through it.
There you go.
Get into business and get through business and be a success in the end. As success is you define it as the individual, not society necessarily.
That's right.
Mark, that was some beautiful emotional shit, man.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
You see what I'm talking about, man?
You're all about the emotions. Yes. I know that's why I love you.
I love you too, man.
You say I'm not emotional, dude. I can cry at an AT&T commercial. Just ask my wife. Yeah, I love Hallmark movies.
They make you cry.
Yes, they do.
Dude, I do cry at movies a lot.
I watched that one the other night.
Just get touched.
Don't look at me, man.
I watched that one. It Ends With Us. That's real controversial right now with Blake Lively. Have you seen that?
My wife tried to make me watch that, but it's too emotional.
It was good. I thought it was.
You know what the most? I've watched this scene a million times and I cry every time.
What's that?
Have you ever seen The Patriot?
Oh yeah.
You know when the little girl runs to Mel Gibson?
Oh, it's
he
horrible.
don't leave.
I'm crying right now.
Breaks me every time.
Oh yeah, it's horrible.
Breaks me.
Yeah.
Like I can't help it. Like I know it's coming.
It's like
I'm like, don't cry, and I start crying.
You're breaking me down here, right here. That's stuff.
That's some good stuff. Well, listen, we're getting off the track here. I think it's time we wrap this up, but it's been great having Jesse.
It has,
hasn't it?
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be on here. You guys are a lot of fun, and Mark, I value your reputation. Hey, no smoke. I know you don't like compliments, so get over it. Here it comes. It's hug times, hug 30.
Yeah.
Is your reputation around the universities is unbelievable. No. When I hear my students talk about you, it's just great. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Thanks. It's kind of you to say. I just hope my Rate My Professor ratings reflect that.
That stuff's brutal right there.
I'm telling you, man.
How is it some of the professors who, hey, this is a question. We're going to go 9 more minutes. All right. How is it some of the, no, I got to go to. Some of the professors would be, how are they not on Rate My Professor? And I know some of those guys are a-holes. So why aren't they on there? How do you get off?
I can't tell you.
It's a secret thing, man. You're not there yet, bro. I mean, you got to know the secret.
Hey, my score's pretty good right now. So your Mark's is great.
I bet it is.
They used to rate you. Did you know that with chili peppers as to how hot you were?
Did not know that.
Yes, they had a rating system for how hot you were. I never got a single chili pepper. And this goes back 20 years. So
wow, man, that sucks.
Man,
so forget all the ratings of how good
you get freaking chili pepper.
No, I never got it. That never really bothered me. But my former mother-in-law did, and believe me, she didn't deserve it. But I'll leave it at that.
That's not right.
No, that ain't right. So no, they dumped that system. I guess that was considered too sexist or something.
Come on,
Inappropriate.
man. That's good grief.
So no more chili peppers. But thanks, Jesse. No, it's great having you here. We'd love to have you back again. Would you come back?
I would be honored to.
Bring your brother, psychoanalyze us.
I would, yeah, and I think, man, I think there's really something onto this practitioner academic side to, take something that is otherwise some really boring, unreadable stuff and convert it into something that's relevant. I think it'd be fun. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's great when it comes from somebody like you who's been through the ups and downs and made it through, and has a tremendous business that bears your name and has transformed itself multiple times.
I'm not resting. I think, to wrap me up here would be, we all remember when the Seahawks played the Patriots, right? We all remember when Tony Romo dropped the extra point. That's what keeps me up at night. Every night is it's first and goal at this point, and it doesn't
Like
work.
that Texas kicker I was watching yesterday.
Poor Auburn. Bad day for that guy. They ended up winning, but I would say, I'm not resting, and I don't take the success for granted because I know I was eating poo-poo 4 years ago. So we're going to get this into the end zone.
Yeah, I love it.
Good.
All right. Well, until next week, this has been another episode of Big Talk About Small Businesses.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk About Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.